many of storms. And when they did not have Jesus on, and that's what, even when they didn't have Jesus on board. So then now you have him on board. Why are you scared about the storms that you're facing? But when you read the latter part of that verse, not only did they leave their post, they wanted to have a debate. How many times when God has given you a word, you want to have a debate? Well, Lord, I got rocking in your chair. Lord, yeah, you told me. But Lord, you know, I ain't been married so many years. Lord, you know, I ain't had a job and so. Lord, you know, we want to sit there and have a debate. And he has already gave us the instructions. So the debate was, carest thou not that we perish? So basically here, they were asking the Lord, if you love me, why are you sleeping? Just like some of us, for now, for example, we don't know what we get into when we become married. And one thing about marriage is, that's when you really truly know what you have when a storm arises. Because when a man and a woman come together and become one and become married, I always tell my wife, and I use a car as our situation, that maybe we're about to hit a bump in the road. Because we both are in the car together. So if we're all on the ship together, and we're all facing a storm, we're facing that storm together. But what I was talking about when it comes to marriage is, that's when you begin to find out if that person truly loves you. When now you have to downsize your house into a one-bedroom box. Or when you lose some financial stability, that's when things start to show itself. The husband may start to cut up. The wife may start to cut up. Now they're talking about divorce. Now they're talking about they're having issues in their marriage. But you have to look at the root cause. If you got married because of love, what does your vow say? For better or for worse? So if we're married to the church, and the church is going through some turmoil, when the church is faced with some struggles, we are married to the church. All we have to say is, we're about to hit a bump in the road. We got to go through this together. Because we all need each other to survive. So marriages that don't last, when they hit these bumps, they were truly never in love with one another. There was something else that attracted them to one another. So when they're faced with financial struggles, when they're faced with other things, the popping of the mouth, the snapping, and everything else start to show itself because they were never truly in love. My question to you on this morning is, that when a storm arises, will you jump ship? When your storm arises, will you jump ship? One thing I see and I watch, I understand that leadership, no matter if it's a church, a business, or whatever it is hard. Leaders may have that peace that surpasses all understanding, but what about the others on the ship? Our pastor may have the faith in the peace, but we need to be on one accord and watch her. If she's in the part of sleep and not worrying, we also need to be in that same position. We also need to be able to trust God like she does. God has placed her here to lead us. True leadership is tested in storms. Storms can cause us to drop our guards. That goes back to Peter going down to the end of part, Jesus, he left his post. When you leave your post, you have allowed the enemy to sneak in. He's getting ready to take a blow at you because you have put your guard down. If you apply this to boxing and you put your guard down, he's able to get that fist into your face. And that one punch that he may throw may knock you off your feet and have you knocked out. But if you stay on your post, keep your feet planted in the Word of God, and put your fist up in guard, you'll block every attack of the enemy. Another thing that storm does, it affects your attitude. So then I ask you, what is your attitude while you're in a storm? How do we act when we are in our storms? Anybody can praise God when it's sunny and calm outside. But he said, can you praise me in a tornado? Can you praise me when you're faced with a tsunami? Can you praise me when things are not going right? And y'all gonna love this one. Can you praise me when a rat ran across your feet? For those that went to the funeral, they understand. But God is saying that you're going to go through struggles of life. But can you praise me? Because it is easy to praise God when you're not going through nothing. Money is always in the bank. Kids are always acting right. No struggles of life. Wife on good behavior. Husband on good behavior. All the saints are acting like they're supposed to in the church. Nobody's talking about each other. But the minute you're faced with a storm, can you praise God? Can you give God the same praise you had when you had everything? Can you still lay prostrate before Him when you still don't have anything? When you only have 2 pennies in your pocket, can you praise Him? When you're sick in your body, can you praise Him? When you don't have the right state of mind, can you praise Him? What comes out of your mouth when you're faced with a storm? You can't speak a word of peace when you have allowed yourself to become a piece of the storm. You can't speak a word of P-E-A-C-E, peace, when you have allowed yourself to become a piece, P-I-E-C-E, of the storm.
All right. Oh, that's good.
How many of you are becoming a piece of the storm? Some of us are still in our storms because of our own selves. We also have to rest on faith. If we have that true faith, we should be able to rest like Jesus. We should have that crazy peace. Peace at the doctor's office. Peace at the lawyer's office. Peace with the cable company. Peace with the bank. Peace with the president. Peace with the legislator. Peace with my sisters. Peace with my brothers. Peace with my pastor. Peace with my musician. Peace at my job. Peace at the grocery store. Peace at the gas station. Peace when I don't feel like having peace. Peace when I'm sick. You gotta have peace. The storm defines your character. It can bring some things to light about yourself. You say you have faith, then a storm comes, and you forget about the faith you once had. The thing about a ship is that it's built to float on water and to endure storms it may face. So the issue is not if the boat will sink. The issue the lightning or the thunder. The issue is not the winds or the waves, but rather who is driving the ship. You see, Peter, like I said, has left his post. He has dropped his guard. Discipline requires that you hold your position even under fire. Despite what's coming your way, you got to stand firm. You got to stay in position. Your body is a ship that you have to control. And God is abiding inside of you. You have to understand that. So don't drop your position. Don't remove yourself from your posture. Storms should not move you or even have you questioning love. In verse 39, he said, and arose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. The thing about Jesus speaking to the winds and the waves is truly not about what he spoke. Pause that for a minute. It's not about what he spoke. But it's rather where he spoke from. You can't speak peace outwardly if you don't have peace inwardly. You can't speak healing outwardly if you don't have healing inwardly. You can't speak peace or love inwardly or outwardly if you don't have it inwardly. You can't speak joy outwardly if you don't have joy outwardly. You can't speak forgiveness if you don't have forgiveness inside of you. Jesus did not have all the variables of life. Jesus did not have or did not need all the variables of life to be synced in together to speak to the storm. Because he already had the peace inside of him. Because he is the Prince of Peace. So truly the worst storms are not what you face on the outside, but rather the storms you have on the inside. You can't speak outwardly what you do not have inwardly. You cannot speak outwardly what you do not have inwardly. You cannot speak outwardly what you do not have inwardly. Did you catch it? How can you speak to your storm and change your situation when you don't have the words to say? If you have nothing on the inside of you to come out, what do you do? So you have to stop speaking in agitation, but rather in appreciation. You have to use determination to carry you to your destination. God has and will give you clarification to help you through your situation. We as a people have to stop living in procrastination and live in orchestration. Storms will cause complications, but my God works in weatherizations. I may have to lay before God in proclamation, but he will lift me up in transformation. So I need to have appreciation even when I go through my situation. Stop having associations with those who are going to give you contamination. Because that contamination will have you in disassociation from the true and living God. It will also cancel your predestination, which is to be Christ when he returns. Because the God I serve is a God of cancellation.